All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to House Party 5v5. It's Saturday afternoon, which means Premier League action. And in game number one, Never Clucky came back against an early spooky midnight lead to find themselves a victory. Now it's a rematch in game number two. It's spooky midnight this time in the blue. Clucky's over on the red, and we'll have to see who emerges victorious at the end of round number two. I'm Captain Flowers here on the casting desk, joined by Deck Club Ace. And Deck, how do you see the teams adapting after what happened in game number one?
So I think after how things went in the last game, I'm pretty sure that Spooky Midnight isn't going to go for this like super early game team comp that they built before, where they were trying to have like a strong early game and a strong mid game, but not really skill in the late game. They were hoping to just win. They didn't really pressure it that well. So this game, I'm expecting them to go a little bit more towards the mid to late game, because while that game seemed like it was going to go really fast, it ended up still being about a 40-minute game. So really, even with their best efforts, they couldn't close the game out on Never Clucky. Meanwhile, Never Clucky is probably not really going to change up much. They might go for a little bit stronger early game, maybe try to not get caught up by a lane swap like that again. But either way, definitely something that you want to keep in mind. We do want to see what they're going to ban as their last champion. The bans are coming out. That's Gangplank, Kindred, and Janna for Spooky Midnight, and the Swain and Maokai for Never Clucky.
Now let's talk a little bit more about what you just mentioned, the magic word of the early game, the lane swap. Are you expecting to see the same old line of scrimmage, or are we going to actually see a 5-man attempt at an invade to get down some deep vision so they don't get caught off guard again?
I honestly would hopefully expect to see a very deep invade. It's looking like Never Clucky is going to make the call to actually deprive Jetrix of his Lee Sin. That's something we don't normally see. More surprising is that the Fizz wasn't banned, and Instep picked it up instead of getting the Lee Sin for Jetrix. So I guess Jetrix is okay with not getting Lee Sin immediately. I don't actually know if Fizz would be considered a priority pick, because he's not like crazy overpowered right now, and not a lot of people play him all the time, so I don't actually know why the priority pick was for the Fizz.
Well, if you want to talk about what's perceived as pretty overpowered, Vlad being picked up by Spooky Midnight is a pick, like I said at the beginning of last game, that is generally just banned out these days. And a couple different junglers that I've talked to since the most recent patch have put Rek'Sai at the top of their tier lists. So Spooky Midnight's lineup right now is looking pretty legit.
Right, you are. And that Azir once again being picked up for Azumi. Hopefully can show off just as much power in the last game as it did in this game. Gotta say though, the cool thing about Vlad is that because of the changes in the patch, his averages still aren't really that high because they were so low before. But just in that patch, he went up by like 9% in his win rates. That still only barely puts him at 50%. But keep in mind, he also has a fairly high ban rate and still doesn't have a high play rate yet. So as that gets higher, we'll see whether or not that'll push him even further. He is really strong. I actually am curious to see how he's going to go against the top lane here, which we don't actually know what that's going to be yet. Once again, having the top lane as the last pick, that's actually not really that common.
Holy late game carries for Never Clucky. These guys have Azir and Twitch in the same team composition. If this one goes late and those two are allowed to get there without being completely shut down, they will just completely annihilate these 5v5 fights.
So here's something I want to talk about. So we had the Lee Sin picked up by Jetrix last time. He did really good. He had a very strong early game, showed off a lot. But the thing was, his team comp wasn't really built to take advantage of the fact that he had given them a very strong early game. This team comp, on the other hand, Never Clucky being able to hand off kills to Twitch and Azir, if you can do that, if you don't like steal all the kills really early, if you don't steal all the advantage, then yes, Lee Sin will eventually fall off and become relegated to being the sort of utility tank that really just tries to kick people around and dash around and be annoying. But that's okay, because Twitch and Azir can 1v5 them when they're fed.
We will see Ashe picked up for the second game in a row, this time on the other team. Spooky Midnight's going to pick it up. Intercourse going to be utilizing that pick potential with the power of the arrow. And when you've got arrows plus Rek'Sai burrows plus Thresh hooks plus Fizz in general, there's definitely some real pick potential on this Spooky Midnight team if Clucky steps out of line. Talisman and Izumi are both going to be those big late game carries that we just got done talking about, but they've still got to respect what this Spooky Midnight team can do if they aren't constantly aware of their positioning and how close they are to this Irelia, this Lee Sin, and this Zyra that'll help keep them alive.
Going to see whether or not the Vlad is going to go top side. We're not going to see anything sneaky where they try and go like Fizz top with the Vlad mid, but Vlad versus Irelia. Now I know previously Irelia won this matchup pretty handily simply because Vlad couldn't output the damage to deal with the fact that she could do it better and was also kind of mobile with the Blade Surge. Now, I'm not actually sure that's the case anymore. So we'll have to see how that goes in the top side. I'm more interested to see how this bot side is going to go because last time we had these two fairly like tanky-ish supports. They were covering for each other. They were protecting their AD carries. That's cool. But we had the tanky support and the mage support. Now we have the tanky support and the mage support, but they are different supports. And this time, they both have a ton of crowd control.
One thing, too, is although Vlad got some pretty busted buffs, Irelia gets the busted buffs from the new Trinity Force, and that item is just so juicy right now. Because previously, it practically felt like it was designed as a Gangplank and Yasuo item. There are other champions that could use it, like Irelia could still use it, Jax could still use it, but you were walking around with this useless 20% crit stat that you're like, okay, I guess I have this, and I just kind of have to deal with it to get the rest of it. Now they've taken that stat, thrown it in the dumpster. Yasuo and Gangplank are currently going through counseling, but everybody else is just ecstatic to trade that stat away for extra attack speed, extra cooldown reduction, and Irelia is once again a force to be reckoned with that item.
Right, you are, and just here's the thing, right? Irelia scales kind of well from having some attack speed early on. The cool thing about the Triforce was like, okay, it gave you some attack speed and it gave you an on-hit bonus, but now it gives you almost triple the attack speed that it used to give you, making your trades even better. And they increase the cooldown reduction on it, which is even more ridiculous. Like, I'm curious to see how that's going to go. It's looking like they had the last-minute swap to the Fizz top lane. They did actually do the sneaky Vladimir mid lane. So,
I don't know how I feel about that one, Deck, because these days, Vlad's a lot tankier than he used to be. Like, used to, you could see the tanky Vlad builds, but they would usually fail. Most Vlad builds would have quite a lot of AP in them. And these days, you're seeing a lot of Vlads with Warmogs and Spirit Visage and lots of health. And I don't know how that's going to work on a mid laner. He seems much more top lane specific now.
Well, I think the thing is that his role as a mid laner is almost the same as Swain, but instead of having crowd control, he has a little bit of utility in the form of his Hemoplague damage increase and being able to just sustain himself up even faster without needing his ult. He does tend to build the defensive AP items, but he builds like Rylai's and Zhonya's and like Liandry's Torment and stuff like that. So he'll build things that give him a lot of health, but also give him a lot of potential to kill people out. If that's going to save him against Azir, I'm not sure. Because, I don't know, I think Azir actually does win that matchup, because if you get too low, Azir's just going to kill you.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of concerned about with this Vladimir doing, if he does go for a more offensive type of build, will he just be able to survive the raw damage that is Twitch, Azir, and Irelia? Because super tanky mega health Vlad with 4k HP and the ability to just siphon off tons of it with transfusion and the Hemoplague heal, he might be able to. But I don't know. It's going to be interesting. This is going to be a learning experience for me, if nothing else. Stay tuned, guys. We're 10 seconds away from game number 2, the rematch between Spooky and Clucky here at House Party 5v5's Premier League. Keep it here. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Summoner's Rift, ladies and gentlemen. We are in the second game of the day. Once again, Spooky Midnight on the blue side this time, with Neverclucky on the red side. Team comps, a little bit different, seeing a couple of return champions from the previous game, but this time around, kind of getting them swapped around a little bit. I am Decla, based on color, being joined by Captain Flowers on play-by-play, and seeing potentially the line of scrimmage. Not actually sure, though. It's looking a little bit different than normal.
We just saw an on-the-way ping from Clucky in Spooky Midnight territory. They might be looking to get some deeper wards down and just keep track of who's going where. They want to make sure there's no shenanigans this time around.
Nerb taking a little bit of damage from Jetrix here. Not too much, though. Just about the same amount of damage Jetrix took from Voice. Not too bad. One thing I want to say, though, I did, during the load screen, I went and double-checked something because I was curious to see whether or not Bubbles had actually played the Vladimir. And as far as I can tell, unless she was playing it on a different account, she has no records of playing the new Vlad, so I don't actually know how that's going to go. I know that Vlad...
The YOLO pick.
Yeah, the YOLO pick. I mean, usually Vlad doesn't really do that well against Azir anyway because of the ability for Azir to just kind of rip through him. But I don't know. Maybe we'll be surprised. Maybe she'll like pull the wool over her eyes and just completely destroy our expectations.
Well, Spooky Midnight's got something to prove this game to begin with. They've got to come back and win this one, especially after the heartbreaking loss last time of being ahead and then not being able to keep up that momentum, keep up that tempo, and push for the victory.
Definitely not something that you want to deal with, but that doesn't mean that they can't do it this game. Once again, like I'd said, even if you lose the last game, that might just motivate you to do something a little bit different this game, and different it was. They went for a definitely much less early game focused team. They're quite into the mid-late game team comp. How that's gonna go against the Twitch and Azir, though, I'm not so sure. Instead of taking a ton of damage in trades, though, not really what he was hoping for.
And Nerv's only gonna hurt more and more as this goes on. Once he hits that Trinity Force power spike, he's just gonna be this big, massive obstacle that Spooky Midnight is going to have to get past. Now, Instep on top lane Fizz, I'm kind of interested to see how he's going to go. I'm going to assume a tankier build, but we might still see a full AP Fizz. Who knows?
Who knows, indeed. And I did see earlier a couple of people playing AD Fizz top lane, so I'm not sure. Maybe
with the Trinity Force, I'm sure.
Yeah, with the Trinity Force, yeah. So I'm potentially that might be what he ends up doing, but I don't know.
Doing that earlier today, believe it or not. At Diamond 2 ELO, an Echo that went Trinity Force Wits In.
How did it do? Did it actually do well?
He went 17-8. He carried his team. I was kind of surprised. I didn't expect Battle Echo to do that well.
Well, looking at the map, I just noticed, most importantly, S-Angel.
S-Angel going to be in a little bit of trouble down here in the bottom lane. There comes the hook. There comes the follow-up damage. Heal's going to pop out. Collateral and Intercourse having to back themselves away now. Talisman going to return as much damage as he can with that poison.
Jetrix in the top side, trying to get Instep to bait out Nerb a little bit. Maybe Nerb will take the bait.
I mean, he is a fish. It's perfect. All right, Nerb's got the stun. Instep's going to have to walk himself away. Nerb winning in the trade for now. Jetrix wants to find the knockup, won't successfully do so. Nerb wisely not wanting to force that trade any harder than had already been done. Both junglers are near the top half of the map. Jetrix and Voice, both level 3, both near full HP. As Bubbles gets bullied around by Izumi's Azir nice and early. Now, Izumi had an awesome performance last game on this champion. We'll have to see if he can do it again. The lateral going to take a couple of those poison crossbow bolts from Talisman. As Twitch, this hyper late game AD carry. Very, very powerful. Very, very useful in the right hands. Can really punish enemy mistakes. And also, interestingly enough, one of Intercourse's favorite AD carries. So Intercourse knows what this champion can do. He knows what he's capable of. As Nerb forces the fight onto Instep here in the top lane and then backs himself away. He leaves the finishing job to Voice, who flashes forward, gets down the slow. TP is looking to come in. Bubbles wants to find the kill onto Nerb, will not successfully do so. Voice now running around. The Sonic Wave will be juked. Instep walks himself away. Izumi Shinichi is here. Bubbles channels the damage on the Vlad. Voice going to be brought down almost for sure. Bubbles trying to get anything she can. Transfusion is down as well. Izumi Shinichi's about to fall. One more auto attack on the Nerb will take him too. Spooky Midnight's found 2 for 0.
That was like a tale of tragedy for Neverclucky, because it looked like everything was going their way. Like, oh yeah, we've got Instant by himself. He's really low. He doesn't have flash, so he can't get away from me. Oh no, he juked the first one. Oh no, he jumped over the second one. Oh, this sucks. And
we have such different ways of looking at these fights in the top. Because after that ended, I thought, man, that was a fiesta. And Deck describes it as a tale of tragedy, using this poetic, descriptive language. As now we see the fight breaking out on the top side once more. Nerv's going to find the kill, but the burn will take him down in retaliation. 3-1, Spooky Midnight.
Ignite plus that passive plus corrupting potion does a lot of damage over time, and you gotta respect it. I want to say, though, after those fights broke out, I wanted to look over at the dragon. The first dragon is actually the Fire Drake. And speaking of down in bot side, we do see Voice potentially being... He did not get spotted out by the...
Here on collateral. One Sonic Wave resonating strike will take him down. That's all it takes. But he's got to land him, and he's got to not get flayed out of it. Voice wants this so badly. Angel constantly trying to flex his muscles, work his way up here. That Fire Drake looks awfully juicy if either team can ever find the opportunity to work themselves over.
Definitely, and Bubbles, after that quite a powerful top lane fight, managed to pick up the Spectre's Cowl for herself. Really, really good to have against the Azir early on.
But this is the defensive build.
See, that's
Where's
the thing, though.
the damage?
That's
on
the thing,
Spooky
is
Midnight.
it is a defensive build, but Izumi isn't going to build defensive against Bubbles.
Now we're seeing a fight break out in the bottom lane. Collateral's already dead. Angel takes that one. Voice comes down, and they don't even need him. He can't even cash in on an assist for that one.
Kind of unfortunate. I don't think Angel was actually expecting the ability to do that much damage. I think Deadly Spine does a little bit more damage than that, but that's okay. Got a kill. A kill on Zyra isn't actually that big of a deal. It is very good for the team. She does do quite a bit of damage, and she's not the equivalent of, like, the... Uh-oh.
Bubbles going to get a transfusion onto Izumi. The Tides of Blood will not connect onto him past those minions, as now Bubbles still looking for more and more Vamp. Jetrix Prey Seeker will not connect either.
Bubbles taking a lot of damage there, but that's okay. She's going to be able to get yet another little
Those transfusion heals, those are disgusting.
It's so... And see, that's the thing, is she's going for the really, really early Spirit Visage, and Spirit Visage really early on, it already does a decent amount of damage, and Transfusion will heal you for so much.
In step, just hopping around topside. He's got the long sword, got the cloth armor, and as the Twitch chat was so kind to point out, he does have Fervor of Battle, so it's 100% AD Fizz. I fully expect to see the Trinity Force and other bruisery-style items as he flip-flops his way all over the place trying to assassinate this Azir and this Twitch. That's the name of the game, really. If you're Spooky Midnight, can we kill Talisman and Izumi, and how effectively can we go about doing that?
Trying to push Bubbles out of lane is going to be a nightmare for Izumi. Every time I look at the lane, Izumi's like gotten Bubbles down to less than half health, and then she just pops
right
two
back
transfusions, and she's all the way back at full health.
Right back up there, Voice trying to force the issue onto Jetrix. Now, Voice doesn't have level 6, Jetrix does, but the nice part for Voice is Rek'Sai's level 6 doesn't really mean anything in combat. 20% extra attack speed, not nearly as big as Lee Sin's kick would be.
Look at that. Look at how low Izumi is after, like, bullying Bubbles the whole time. And Bubbles is at full health again.
Vladimir healing is just incredibly potent these days.
Right, you are. And, like, Jaxtrix is going into the jungle, going to get a little bit of damage on the Voice. I don't think he's actually going to get the kill here.
Won't succeed in doing so, but Bubbles nearby means that Never Clucky has to back themselves away. Just settle with ceding control of their jungle right now, as that red buff will head the way of Jetrix.
Now, I do want to draw some attention towards the builds on the bot side. We do see the Talisman has managed to pick up that recurve bow really early, picked up a Vamp Scepter to get a little bit more sustain in the lane, was taking a decent amount of damage poke from both the Thresh and the Ashe. Now, more importantly, Intercourse on his first back picked up a BF sword. Uh-oh, Izumi.
Fight here in the mid lane. Izumi Shinichi going to be Hemo-plagued up. Bubbles has the kill. Nice and easy. Tides of Blood was pretty much just for dramatic effect right there. Hemo-plague would have ticked down, and Spooky Midnight's got kill number 4. Vlad up to 2-0-1. Bubbles making her mark early on in this one.
A little bit of psychological trauma. Get some blood in their eyes.
Exactly.
More importantly, though, I want to say Izumi made a good play, tried to pop out the Emperor's Divide, but Bubbles, power to her, managed to pull underneath as soon as the soldiers came out, so they didn't actually manage to push her away.
A good read from Bubbles means a good kill going the way of Spooky Midnight. But looking at the CS department, we're seeing a lead for Neverclucky in the top lane, which is going to be almost equalized if Instep can farm this wave up effectively. A lead still for Azumi Shinichi in the mid lane, and a lead for Talisman in the bottom lane. All across the board, except in the jungle, Neverclucky players are out-farming their opponents.
Right, you are. But they are managing to actually get some advantages elsewhere. We do see both the Soul Laners having kills over their opponents, or in this case, assists in the top lane.
Nerb's in the mid lane. Bubble's going to have to pull to get herself away. Nerb won't successfully collapse here. Voice trying to do whatever he can, kind of just scare those guys away for now. He's looking for the Scuttle Crab. Jetrix is going to take down that little ward he threw out. And now Voice might find himself in a bit of a precarious situation. 3v3 in the bot lane doesn't look like it's going to happen. Both junglers walk themselves away, head back towards the Scuttle, towards their own Raptor camps, as Bubbles has complete control of mid lane now.
So I just want to point out, both the junglers have been poking their heads down towards this bot side jungle a lot because they both really want to set up a play on this dragon. Both of them want to get some kind of play either in mid lane or bot lane where they can then follow it up and go for this dragon. And they're both preventing each other from doing that very effectively. I'd say Jetrix is getting better at it than Voice simply because every time I see Voice going up against Jetrix, he's losing.
Now Instep forcing the issue onto Nerb here in the top lane. He's got the fish down, he's got the hop, he's got the damage, but can he finish it off? Answer's gonna be yes. The Urchin Strike seals Nerb's fate.
Urchin Strike with Sheen does a lot of damage, you can't really underestimate it, plus the bonus damage from being hit by that Chum the Waters and the extra burn.
Stride and Sea Stone Trident, which is being maxed. Collateral gonna be bound up by the vines. Intercourse looking to chase Angel down. There comes that massive Stranglethorn, gonna knock up all three. Collateral can't find the death sentence he's looking for, and Angel walks himself away.
Sure, on the bot side, finally pushing them away. Only managed to get Angel's flash, only managed to actually do damage to Angel. Got both Angel and Talisman's flash. They will go for this dragon. Not sure if Voice is actually going to be here in time to try and contest this. They might be able to do enough damage to it, but we'll see. Even if one of them dies, it would be worth it.
Bubbles trying to force the fight or the dive under the turret onto her opponent as Collateral drops the box, drops the death sentence onto Nerb. Instep having to jump himself away. Azumi Shinichi is here. Nerb still trying to force the issue. Bubbles wanting to go back in. Nerb's found kill number one, and it's onto Collateral. They're looking to chase these guys away even further, as it looks like Neverclucky will secure the Fire Drake for themselves.
As the Fire Drake falls, Neverclucky managing to get that away from Spooky Midnight. Much sadness for them. Following, very nice move over from Jetrix.
Voice, having to get himself away over the wall. Instep jumping after him. Talisman here trying to provide the safe escape, but Sea Stone Trident ticks like a mother when that ability is maxed. Nerb over the wall. He's got the follow-up kill into Jetrix, making it even jungler for jungler. As Intercourse is now in a bit of a rough spot. Nerb's here, Angel's here, Talisman's here. Spooky Midnight's got to be careful. They'll back themselves away.
As I was going to say, Fire Dragon falls. Next dragon looks like it's going to be the Ocean Dragon. Neither team really super benefiting from that. I'd say probably, if anything, one team wants to get it down as quickly as possible just to remove it off the map so they can get something else when the Elder Dragon spawns
get something
later.
Big, right. Azumi Shinichi going to be Hemo-plagued in the mid lane. Bubbles trying to force that issue. Won't successfully do so. Azumi's going to be taken low, but no actual threat of death. If he tries to back too bravely, Bubbles might flash forward and go for the transfusion. There's the damage. There's the kill. Bubbles 188. Pulls the trigger.
Speaking of flash transfusion. Talisman,
That's exactly
you've been
what
caught.
Bubbles had to do.
Oh, not quite. Managed to get the flay, couldn't find the hook. Very unfortunate, but this is a three-man bot lane. They will be trying to pressure for this tower. They know that S-Angel isn't going to be back anytime soon. Voice being the only thing remotely close by. No teleports available, no nothing, so either this is going to be a really strong fight into the tower, or they're just going to give this tower up.
Voice still waiting in the wings. Bubbles coming around. Voice going to find Sonic Wave, and he has to jump himself away immediately. Arrow connects, and Voice might not have much of a say in how this one goes down. He's just going to stand there. He knows there's no way out. Bubbles 188 up to 4-0-1.
Like they're going to get a tower off of that as well. Definitely quite a win for them. Not even really trading many cooldowns for that at all. They did use, what, the crystal arrow, that was about it. Oh no, that was used earlier.
That was used on the voice.
That's right, So, the question is, what do they do now? Because there's no easy tower for them to kill. Their tower pushing pressure is okay right now. Really what they want is they want to try and force a fight of some kind. Or, you know, just let Instep keep killing Hayam near top lane.
Well, I mean, if that's what you have to have happen, if the worst case scenario is just letting your top laner farm their top laner, that's not too bad.
That's true. Izumi standing in mid lane trying to defend as best he can, but Bubbles coming back with the Hextech Proto Belt. See if that's going to be enough to force a couple more kills onto Izumi. We do see Izumi.
Now that seems like it could be a really good item on Vlad. The health, the ability power, the cooldown reduction. Plus, Vlad's one of those champions that wants to be right in the middle of the mix.
So it's a really good item for specifically. Yes, it is very useful for the ability it gives, but being able to dash with the Nova is super strong on Vladimir because you can get ready to charge up your tides and dash.
And then unleash the tides as soon as you dash. Now Talisman's found himself in a bit of a hard spot. Can use Blade of the Ruined King, walking himself away. Izumi Shinichi keeping safe for the time being. Instep is down here. They found Talisman out, jumping up and over the wall. Instep's going to take him nice and easy. Jetrix takes the kill credit, actually. And, of course, having to walk himself away. Exhaust down in a voice. They might be able to death sentence him up and keep him alive. They won't succeed in doing so. Collateral will be the next one to fall. Nairb having to walk away from the turret aggro. Collateral's going to be bound up. Plants will soak that aggro for now. They want to take Collateral down, but they don't have massive health bars to do it with. Collateral looking to stay safe. Sonic Wave won't connect. Angel wants to bring up the minion wave for this when he drops the plant on the turret. TP's going to come in. Collateral keeping himself alive for now. Voice and Nairb might have to run away. Nairb jumping himself right back in, looking to make the play happen. Bubbles is going to be stunned up, and you can't heal through that one. Shut down for Hayam Nairb.
I was about to say it was a really good play for Collateral because he managed to land the hook onto Hayam Nairb as soon as he dashed in, and that did manage to stun up Hayam Nairb, but unfortunately, they just couldn't do enough damage before Hayam Nairb actually got the auto attack.
Allison trying to defend this bottom lane tier 2. Instep almost going to be taken down. Tier 2
still
will
died to the
fall.
poison.
Jetrix having to walk himself away. Poison still ticking. Instep barely walking away. Izumi's here, keeps Talisman alive, but cannot hold the turret. Spooky Midnight now finds themselves up about 1,500 gold. And oddly enough, this is about how far ahead they were at this point last game.
Now, here's the thing, right? We saw Instep very barely living there. He just managed to pick up a Triforce. So he actually did not have a Triforce. So I'm curious to see whether or not that's actually going to manage to pull it out. I was actually mistaken, by the way. I did forget that because Vlad's thing is a channeling ability, you cannot use the item at the same time. So the belt doesn't work that way, but it is still very useful.
Even though you're allowed to move while channeling Tides of Blood, you're not allowed to use Proto Belt?
Correct, because it interrupts the cast.
I did not know that, actually, so today I learned. Izumi Shinichi found the collapse onto Intercourse, chasing him down, proccing the Thunderlords with the basic staff auto attacks. Intercourse gets himself away thanks to the Dark Passage. As now that Ocean Drake's going to spawn, and Never Clucky is already here, already looking to make the play, but Jetrix wants to hop in. Instep is nearby. Spooky Midnight might try to fight for this.
Spooky Midnight probably should at least fight for it, if only to deprive their opponents of a mildly useful buff.
Now, Talisman has that spray and pray ready to go. He can jump into this fight and make some huge AoE damage happen if they can find the opportunity to do so. Nair's going to almost take Collateral down immediately. There's Sonic Wave making it happen. Intercourse the next one to fall. Instep's going to be able to find the kill onto the enemy AD carry, but he can't get away after the fact. Bubble's going to chase these guys down. She's got the kill onto Izumi Shinichi, but Hayam, Nairb, and Angel are still in hot pursuit. Jetrix over the wall might be able to find somebody. Bubbles just heals for days and days and days. Voice goes in. He's got the Sonic Wave. Resonating Strike's going to follow it up. Flashing behind. He's got the Wombo combo. He's got the juggle, and he's got the enemy jungler. Just like that, Never Clucky ties the game up and finds himself at a loss for Dragon.
Right you are, but that does put them ahead in gold. Uh-oh, Bubbles. What are you doing?
Bubbles wants to force the issue. She's got the big transfusion ready to go. Bar's going to tick down. Now she doesn't.
Maybe.
Still looking to force the issue. Voice trying to get himself away. Irelia Ultimate will not successfully finish collateral off as Nerv's going to be stunned up, having to flash himself over the wall. He finds the dash into the unstoppable, into the double kill. Is it going to be a triple? Intercourse is dead. Triple kill. Hi, I'm Nerv's Irelia. Instep has to hunt him down, has to avenge those fallen teammates. Nerv's just going to try to dash himself around, do whatever he can on this one. Almost able to bring down the fish, but almost isn't going to cut it. No Quadra today, but Nerv has got to be happy about how that one ended up.
Even not getting the Quadra, a situation where you probably should have died, didn't die.
And then got 3.
And then got 3. So, very, very strong motion there from Hayam Nerv, especially considering he was actually behind Instep quite a bit. Now, slowly but surely getting a lead with those kills that does put him at a 400 gold lead over Instep, about 300 gold lead actually now. But that being said, their items are
top laners are going off this game deck.
I was about to say, like, both top laners are very strong in this game, which is weird because last game both top laners didn't really do that much. We saw some good plays from both of them, but overall it was really the mid lane was going off because Azumi was really strong.
Perhaps the introduction of non-Gangplank and Yasuo Trinity Force was what top lane needed to bring the bruisers back and get away from the full tank meta. Maybe this is an indication of things to come. Who knows? Instep, Jetrix, Collateral, they found the hook onto Nerb. Can they follow it up with anything? Don't think you want to go in too hard on the Irelia just like that. Voice backs himself up, so it's pretty dangerous for Clucky to still be hanging around.
Unfortunately, just checking over the dragon, and a slight lull as they are backing off. Looking like the next dragon is once again going to be another Ocean Drake.
Sneaky.
Like they're going to get a little bit of vision onto this blue buff. Intercourse about to get attacked by
This might
Talisman.
be good. Talisman's got the drop on him. Can he find the kill? Answer is yes! Talisman's taking him down as Angel's going to be juggling around. Jetrix and Instep have that kill. Talisman falls to Bubbles. It's a 1 for 2 as both the support and AD carry on Never Clucky drop in exchange for the spooky Midnight AD carry himself.
I'm trying to consider how Talisman would have thought that was worth it. Even if S-Angel hadn't been caught out, right? That still would have been trading a Twitch who is slightly ahead versus an Ashe who, while not really behind, isn't really doing that great either. So,
I'd say he's kind of behind. 0, 4, and 5, not where you want to see your AD carry. In fact, Spooky Midnight's bottom lane is 0 and 9.
In terms of his gold, though, Intercourse is only about, what, 400 gold behind, 300 gold behind Talisman, and Talisman just got a solo kill on him. So that means Talisman is only just now ahead of him.
I didn't actually check the tab for the gold, but that is impressive. He's been able to maintain that close of a gold count, I guess you would call it, being 0, 4, and 5.
That's right. A lot of it being, I guess, the local gold from the towers. They do have an extra tower over them, and a little bit of extra shutdown assist gold, possibly. But that being said, both teams kind of in a lull, not really in any positions to do anything. Mid lane getting hit by a couple of minions, but besides that, not really much that they can do. They're really just waiting for other things to show up. We are at that point in the game where they're going to need a little bit more power, a little bit more advantage to be able to actually take down another tower. So, I'm not actually sure how they're going to do that. Neither one of these teams actually has a split push at all. So, they're both like these fighter teams in different ways. One of them wants to outflank on the side of Never Clucky, but Spooky Midnight wants to just be able to dive in and throw everything they have at you. And they're both really good at doing those individual things, but the question is, which one will be able to set up their kills better?
I think now we're actually going to start seeing the first bit of build disparity between the Fizz and the Irelia. So far, it was Trinity Force into Dead Man's Plate, a build that I'm personally a big fan of. It's what I build on Skarner every single game. But now we're going to see Fizz tend towards what I'm assuming is an Abyssal Scepter, while Irelia is going to go for more of a Spirit Visage or Banshee's Veil, depending on what that cow evolves into.
You are kind of curious to know what it's going to be. Personally, I think it's probably going to end up being the Spirit Visage for a little bit more sustain if he picks up something, but we'll see. Banshee's Veil is also very good, but I think it's a little bit less useful when everyone on their team has like spammable abilities like Vlad.
Volley alone just makes Banshee's Veil not very fun.
Right, you are. And looking like the dragon will be spawning here in about 5 seconds. Neverclucky in a position to be able to get it. You see Instep is not here, but he does have teleport, so if he wants to get in position, he can.
Fizz on the flank is going to be potential trouble here for Neverclucky. Jetrix over the wall, does not successfully steal it away, and now he's going to be stunned up, having a flash just to keep himself alive. Izumi Shinichi and the rest of Neverclucky can't quite finish him off, but they found the dragon, and that's what they came for.
So here's the thing, right? Why did Jetrix even do that? They had vision of the pit. They knew that the dragon was going to die, and it takes time for the tunnel to appear. So there's no way that he was going to be able to steal that away. It's not like he's Lee Sin and can just jump in instantly. I actually don't even know what he was doing. I guess he was trying to do a steal, but it just didn't work out. Maybe he thought he was playing Lee Sin.
Maybe he thought he was playing Lee Sin. He saw Lee in the game. He's like, hey, my name's Jetrix. There's Lee in this game. I've got to be the Lee. It didn't end up working out that way as Izumi Shinichi going to be jumped on by Bubbles, but Voice is here looking to clean her up. Bubbles is tanky, but is she tanky enough to survive all this? Answer is no, Deck. Izumi Shinichi's going to shut her down, and with Bubbles off the table for the next 40 seconds, it's Neverclucky's time to push.
Talking about tragedies, Bubbles unfortunately making one of her own. Trying to solo fight Izumi when she doesn't actually know where anyone else on the team is. I think the only person that might have been seen was, I don't know, maybe S-Angel in mid lane?
That's really not enough to go off of. Collateral's death sentence is not exactly hitting the mark too frequently this game. Won't succeed in hooking anybody on that one. It was mostly just defensive anyway, not like he was going for a big play with it. Izumi and Talisman both going to be topside, keeping that tier 2 alive. As now their allies back up from the bot lane, and Neverclucky finds themselves once again 3,500 gold in the lead.
I just want to point out, we just saw the on my way ping from Neverclucky, looking like they want to look at this Baron, and I can't really think of a better time. There's no vision towards it right now. Looking like they're slowly making their way over there. We do see, though, the Scuttle Crab just went over to Spooky Midnight, so Spooky Midnight not gonna be completely blind to this attempt if they go for it. Top tower did take quite a bit of damage in that trade, but losing bottom tower for not quite being able to kill top tower is not really worth it. Talisman going straight for Bubbles. Bubbles taking a ton of damage here.
Bubbles will drop the Hemo Plague, and there comes a real nice arrow onto Talisman that's going to put him in the grave immediately. Jetrix now going to be knocked up into the air. Boy's having to walk himself away, tries to use the safeguard. It's not going to be successful. Intercourse finds that shutdown. Nair off the side, trying to jump in the middle of the fight. What are you doing? You've already lost your AD carry. You've already lost your jungler. Now you've lost your top laner. Now you've lost your support. And now you've lost all your hopes and all your dreams. Goodbye, Neverclucky. Spooky Midnight finds a small success turned huge off of Hayheim Nair's lapse in judgment to go back in, and now Baron's the prize.
So, the thing about that is actually really strange because oh, goodbye, Izumi. Oh, maybe not. Oh, maybe.
Gonna be able to juggle Instep back away. Instep hops over the wall because Playful Trickster's the most fun ability to play versus in the game. And just like that, Spooky Midnight, when they were behind, are now ahead and completely in control. That fight couldn't have gone better.
I was gonna say, it looked kind of like Neverclucky didn't actually know what they wanted to do in that fight because Talisman went in all trying to kill Bubbles and made the exact same mistake that Bubbles made trying to kill Izumi. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna chase into Bubbles, not knowing where the rest of the team is. Oh, they're all right here. Whoops. Then the rest of his team just decides to follow him in, much like earlier, Spooky Midnight did the same thing. The difference is, Spooky Midnight didn't lose a Baron over it.
One thing I want to point out, too, that I'm noticing after that last fight, look at Voice's build. Because we talked about earlier on how drafting the Lee Sin into this composition would allow you the ability to set up the early plays for your hypercarry Twitch and hypercarry Azir, and then you translate into an ability or utility tank yourself. Voice is saying, I don't play utility tanks. That's not my style. Ravenous Hydra, Ghostblade, Warrior Enchantment, full damage, Glass Cannon, carry Lee Sin.
Carry Lee Sin's not necessarily the worst idea, but at this point in the game, you need to start picking up some defensive abilities because at this point, he's going to have a hard time managing to actually kill, I don't know, most of the people on the team. Because at this point,
his only job, like the only thing he could possibly be going for, right, is to insta-give Intercourse. Kill Intercourse immediately by himself, no help. Because 1v1, he loses to Instep and Bubbles, straight up. And Jetrix isn't going to die in a reasonable enough amount of time for him to be able to solo it. So he's really only got one real successful game plan here, doesn't he?
Basically, yes, and we do see Azumi here setting up the defensive line. Talisman going invisible. Not sure if they're going to actually be able to get anything off of this. He's pretty fast, but not really any engage for them right now. I also like to point out their only real engage is if they can manage to either dash in and push people towards them or have Talisman flank. And there's at least a little bit of vision stopping Talisman from being able to do that right now.
Voice needs to find one of those juicy insect plays. Jetrix going to scare him away. Collateral's got the sweeper to make sure that vision stays down. Intercourse moves up, focus firing down that enemy Azir turret. Voice might find his opportunity here. Arrow does not connect. Red turret going to be destroyed. Voice caught out, and Glass Cannon Lee Sin shattered under the might of Spooky Midnight's push. Now they're looking to push up and find even more. Azumi Shinichi dropping the Emperor's Divide. Angel's going to be killed immediately. Instep dominating. Taking a few auto attacks here and there from Talisman, but there comes the hook. I got on Collateral a little bit earlier, not connecting those death sentences, but he gets it where it counts. There's going to be brought down. Instep is godlike. 4 dead on the side of Never Clucky, as Spooky Midnight still got 4 guys ready to go. They only lost their support, so the damage is still in full swing. Azumi Shinichi has summoner spells. He does not have his ultimate, and he's quickly not going to have his mid lane inhibitor.
The thing about those death sentences, it doesn't matter if you miss 100 death sentences, as long as you land the one on the most important target, it's all that matters. Managing to catch out Talisman before he can kill the rest of his team. Honestly, he probably would have at least gotten 2 kills there, considering how low everybody was. But, that being said, quite a strong fight from Spooky Midnight, managing to pick up exactly what they wanted, breaking open this base. They're going to get this Ocean Drake, not quite what they wanted, but I guess a free Drake is a free Drake.
Free Drake is a free Drake indeed. They'll pick that one up. That's Dragon number 2 heading their way. Spooky Midnight's got to be feeling good, because this game was looking so rough until that absolute disaster of a fight mid lane for Never Clucky, where they lose 2 people and then Nerb jumps in. Now, it sounds like I'm bashing on Nerb a lot right now. And for that one play, I absolutely am, because that turned a marginally bad situation into an absolutely horrible one. But until that point in the game, he was absolutely putting the team on his back. But that play just completely turned the tables on everything.
It's the story of top lane, though. When you have any lead at all playing top lane, usually you're trying to initiate for your team and set up fights, because unless you're playing like a mage top lane, you're usually playing juggernauts or tanks, and that's what they do. If you're playing Nasus, if you're playing Maokai, if you're playing Darius, all of those are trying to set up fights to win for your team. And for the most part, Hayam Nerb was setting up good fights. And then he bit off a little more than he could chew. His team still committed because they assumed that that was a good fight because Hayam Nerb went in, and then it ended up not being so great a fight.
So Never Clucky has now got their work cut out for them. They've lost 1 inhibitor. They've had no tempo, momentum, or real presence for the last 5 minutes or so. And things just keep looking more and more like a spooky victory as things go on. But the silver lining in the cloud is we are 33 minutes into the game, and it's only a 4,000 gold deficit, which really isn't that much at this point. Nerb and Instep going to square off in the bottom half of the map as the 7th turret falls for Never Clucky. Only turrets left standing are the ones in the base, and they've got to make their defense.
See, that's the thing, though, is that...
Oh,
no.
Voice wants to go in. If that could have been the right kind of kick, if that could have been an insect play, that might have been just what the doctor ordered. But look at the damage he put down, honestly. He took off 2/3 of Intercourse. I almost said Instep. He took off 2/3 of Intercourse's health just by jumping in like that.
I mean,
but that's not enough.
Between just his Dragon Rage kick and a Resonating Strike Sonic Wave combo, he can do easily 2/3 of your health bar if you don't have any armor. Emphasis on if you don't have any armor. He did pick up that Steric Gauge for himself. He does have a little bit of tank now, but one thing I wanted to point out before he did that little bit of an attempt at an insect play, we talked about that 4,000 gold lead, not 4,000k, that'd be 4 million. Uh-oh, voice, goodbye.
He's going to be grabbed out. Is he going to die? Finds the kill into intercourse, and that's what the glass cannon build is built for, Deck. That's the potential that he was looking for this entire time. Instep and Bubbles diving deep in the air. They're going to find that kill, but if Bubbles gets mopped up, it might just be worthwhile. Instep jumping on the Talisman. They can't afford to lose him here. Voice trying to find the kill. He needs to grab Instep, and he's going to succeed in doing so. Kill goes over to Azumi Shinichi. Double kill heading his way as Jetrix and Bubbles both run for the hills. They've got to try to keep themselves alive. A full ace here could be a disaster. Talisman and Azumi still in hot pursuit, looking to chase him down. Flash away. Bubbles and Jetrix both still going. Azumi Shinichi catching up with the soldiers. Talisman's going to be brought low. Bubbles trying to keep herself alive. The pool has been used. She's going to find the rampage onto one opponent. She's going to be shut down before she can find two. Jetrix, the last man standing, will remain so as a 1-for-1 ends up claiming the 4th Spooky Midnight life, and Never Clucky continues to hold the line.
Very barely, but still not the situation you want to be in. There's not really anything that they can get off of that. Baron is alive, but they have to lick their wounds and back off for now. Talisman is dead, which means it would take them at least a little bit to take it. They don't really have a tank that can tank it forever. I am never can tank it for quite a while, but without Voice having a little bit of tankiness too, it'd be very dangerous to try and tank it with Spooky Midnight all respawning now. Like we do see slowly but surely, they're pushing out this mid lane. They kind of have to because the super minions are kind of shoving them in quite hard.
This is still anybody's game, Deck. This could go either way.
Just to note, that actually went from a 4K gold lead to only a 2K gold lead. So, as you mentioned, 4K isn't really that much. At this point in the game, everyone's getting close to having their 4-item builds, their 5-item builds, almost full builds for everyone, and not really much lead to go. They really need to close it in. Spooky Midnight needs to find a fight that will keep them out of the base, not fighting under towers, and potentially turn it around.
Never Clucky, on the other hand, needs to find a fight where Azir and Twitch can just free fire for a couple of seconds without Instep insta-giving somebody, without Bubbles getting in the middle of both of them and just drowning them in all those blood moves. Both these carries, if they get time to get those attacks off and do that sustained hyper carry late game damage that they're built to do, can easily turn this game for Never Clucky.
Right, you are. Looking at how things are going, everyone just kind of backing off. There's a nice little cycle of people backing off, buying, getting back to full mana and health, making sure everything is ready for the next fight, because the next fight might very well be the last. With an open inhibitor in mid lane, all it will take is a little bit, but keep in mind, Talisman being quite strong could very easily, if the rest of Spooky Midnight falls, push down a couple of towers and potentially end the game.
Middle inhibitor respawn means not a bunch of crazy extra map pressure coming out for Spooky, but Spooky's decided to already pull the trigger and go for the Baron. Nobody from Clucky is even in the neighborhood on this one. This one's going down no contest.
Definitely. That Hawk shot tipping off Voice a little bit. He did just use his shockwave though, so unfortunately he's just going to get that ward there just in time to see the Baron fall. Since everyone
and the latest
is at full
chapter
health.
in the Never Clucky Trials and Tribulations, surviving another Baron up Spooky Midnight push. Dragon is live. It's Elder Dragon. You can't afford to let this one go, Never Clucky. Baron is one thing. Baron plus Elder is a whole nother monster. They've got to get down there. They've got to stop it now. Dragon's going to be brought down to about a half of its health. Getting even lower. They're doing whatever they can. Arrow landing already onto Azumi Shinichi. Voice trying to jump in there. Do something. Glass Cannon is not going to survive for much longer, though. Talisman, everybody on Never Clucky. Chemo Plague strike, and it completely annihilates Clucky Society. Talisman flicked down collateral, but a triple kill for Bubbles 188 is more than enough to seal the fate of this Never Clucky team. Incept's gonna chase down Azumi Shinichi. Ace goes the way of Spooky Midnight, and the game will follow right after.
Just like I said, the next fight would decide the game. Spooky Midnight cleaning that one up, only losing collateral, and mad props to Bubbles. We were kind of hesitant on talking about the Vlad mid early on. We weren't sure how it was going to go. We were skeptical. I admit we were both skeptical. And Bubbles coming out really hard. 13, 4, and 7. We knew the Fizz was going to do well. But Vlad dominating overall. An insane engage at the end. Huge props.
26, 7, and 12 between the solo laners for Spooky Midnight. These two did an awesome combined carry. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching these matches. I hope you've enjoyed them so far. We still got 3 more heading your way, including up next, the only non-double streamed game of the day. It's Syndicate versus White Lightning. White Lightning, once back-to-back Premier League champions, going up against 9-0 Syndicate, the only Premier League team to still have an unblemished record. It should be a battle for the ages, so stick around. You don't want to miss it. We'll be right back.